Hello, Julie here. Today I'm going to share the process of creating a thankful card for the challenge over at Make the Card Challenge, and this is challenge number 67. I'm going to start by cutting my card base. I'm making a 5 1/4 inch square card, so I'm cutting my card 5 1/4 by 10 1/2. I'm using 300 GSM smooth white cardstock to do this. I find the 300 GSM is a good weight for a card base. Then I'm going to use my scoreboard and score the centre fold line at 5 1/4. Once I've done that, I'll fold my card over and burnish that crease so that it folds very nicely. I'm going to make a shaker card today, and I have used my Spellbinders S6-026 squares nested dies to cut a frame and also to cut a piece of acetate that fits, about the same size as the outside of that frame. Now, I usually use glue to attach my acetate, but I do find that I get into quite a bit of a mess, so I decided to try double-sided tape this time. I've got some really fine double-sided tape. I think it's about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to run that around the edge, inside edge of my frame, and then peel the backing off and attach my acetate that way. Now, to make the little well to hold my shaker elements, I'm going to use this foam tape. You could use layers of the squares, so you could cut that hollow square out 4 or 5 times and layer them on top of each other, but for this particular shaker I'm going to use some foam tape. This foam tape is 1/2 inch wide, which was exactly the same width as the frame, and I didn't want to be able to see the edge of it, so I cut it in halves, and I'm going to run around the edge of my frames, the inside frame, so that it's hidden back a little bit from the edge. You can't actually see it from the front. So I'll do that for all 4 sides and make sure that I don't leave any gaps, because I'm putting quite a fine glittery substance in here, so I don't want that to be leaking out at all. Now I'm going to peel the backing off of that foam tape in readiness for putting my elements, my shaker elements, inside of that frame. Now to do that, I'm going to add the shaker elements to the front of the cards, just sort of tip them into the middle of the card where the shaker window is, and then I'm going to place my shaker window on top of that with the window and the card top facing up. That makes it very easy to know where you're placing your shaker element. Once you have your window in place, make sure that you give it a good burnish around where that glue is so that it sticks very nicely. So to embellish my card, I am going to heat emboss some of these Heartfelt Creation stamp flowers. They are called Posy Patch flowers, and I have stamped them with Versamark clear ink onto white cardstock and then heat embossed it using Wow superfine opaque white embossing powder. I've done that off screen. To colour my flowers, I'm going to use my distress inks. I'm using Spun Sugar and Victorian Velvet. I'm applying the colour with a blending brush. So, I think they're actually a makeup brush, but I'm using them for blending brushes. And I'm just starting with the light colour, so the Spun Sugar, and giving each flower a complete cover of that pink. Now, I did notice that the smaller flower, which is the one I'm working on here, is a slightly different paper than the larger flower. So this white flower, the smaller one I mean, is a sort of semi-gloss paper, and when you put the 2 flowers together, this smaller one is a slightly different colour, but not enough to be a problem. So as I said, I'm going to give all of those layers a good colour. Well, it's a very light colour, so it doesn't really show up very much here at all, but in real life you can certainly see it. So I'm going to give each of those layers a coverage with the pink, and then I'm going to just work around the middle with the Victorian Velvet just to get a slightly darker colour in the centre. Now I'm going to use my liquid glue, and I tend to use art glitter glue when I'm using a liquid glue to layer all of those flowers on top of each other. So I'm starting with the bigger, working my way up to the smaller, and I'm offsetting each layer so that the petals are not laying straight on top of each other. They're offset and make the flower look a lot fuller. So I'm going to do that with both flowers. The flowers look too flat when I'd finish them, and usually I do shape my flowers, and I will generally, or 99.9% of the time, do my shaping before I glue the layers together. But I was thinking I might just go for flat flowers, but once I did that I wasn't happy with it. So now I'm going to use my pokey tool, and I'm going to just bend each layer of those petals back towards the back of the flower, so that I get a bit of shape, and then I'm going to press hard into the middle with the end of my pokey tool, the flatter end of the pokey tool, on top of that foam mat, so that as I push down, the petals sort of lift up and give the flower a much better shape. I did this for both flowers, I just did the bigger one off screen. Then I used my art glitter glue once again to attach those flowers to the front of my card. I wanted to add a couple of leaves, and I have some mesh or gold mesh skeletal type leaves, and I've cut one of those in half because I'm going to tuck it in behind my flowers so you won't see the whole of the leaf. So I'm just going to tuck that in, use a bit of art glitter glue to hold that in place. I typed my greeting on my computer and printed it out. It says, thankful for your friendship. I'm just going to ink around the edge of that with my black ink cube, and then use my liquid glue to attach it to the front of my shaker. And that completes my card for today. So I will put a link in the description box below to the challenge over at Make the Card Challenge. This is number 67, and the theme is thankful. And I will also put links to the products that I've used, so if there's anything that you're interested in, you might find a link to it below. Thank you for watching my video today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you can join me when I post my next video.